They say men cheat more, but I've seen the truth, and it's far more uncomfortable than you think. Women are breaking hearts, betraying trust, and walking away like nothing happened. And yet nobody talks about it. Today, I'm going to tell you why women are quietly leading in emotional and physical betrayal. And by the end of this, you'll never look at loyalty the same way again. Cheating is not always physical. For many women, it begins emotionally long before it becomes physical. It starts in the smallest, quietest ways, almost invisible to the naked eye. She doesn't wake up one morning deciding to betray. It begins with a conversation, an exchange of words that seem harmless, a reply that feels a little warmer than it should, a lingering glance that lasts a second too long. Emotional betrayal is like water dripping on stone. It doesn't break the rock in one hit, but over time it erodes its very shape. Women are often told they are more emotionally intelligent, more in tune with feelings, more attentive to connection, but that also means they know exactly when something is missing and exactly where to find it. The danger is not in the obvious act, but in the unseen shift of loyalty that starts in the heart long before it shows in the body. When a woman starts feeling unseen in her own relationship, she doesn't always scream for attention. Sometimes she quietly starts looking for it elsewhere. It might be in a coworker who remembers small details, in a friend who asks about her day, in a stranger who notices her smile. These moments are not yet labeled as cheating in her mind, but they're already drawing her away. She begins to feel alive in a way she hasn't in months, maybe years. The more she feels this spark, the more her heart starts attaching itself to the source of it. And when the heart attaches, the body eventually follows. That's why emotional cheating is so dangerous. It builds the bridge long before she takes the step across it. Women are often better at disguising this shift because they frame it in emotional safety. A simple "he understands me" becomes the justification for late-night conversations, long threads of messages, and deep emotional sharing. She tells herself it's innocent because there's no physical intimacy. Yet every word she sends, every thought she shares, is a piece of her that no longer belongs to her partner. This is where most men make the mistake of thinking it's just talking. But talking can be more intimate than touch. In fact, when a woman gives her emotions to another man, she is giving him the key to unlock every door to her heart, which makes the physical part almost inevitable. It often happens gradually. The late-night chat turns into inside jokes. The inside jokes turn into secret memories, and those memories become a separate world only they share. She begins to compare her partner to this new person, and in that comparison, her loyalty begins to weaken. Her partner might still be physically present, but emotionally, she's already gone. She starts dressing differently, caring more about how she looks when she knows she'll see or talk to that person. She guards her phone more closely. She becomes protective of her private space, and her partner feels something is wrong even if they can't yet prove it. The truth is, women's emotional cheating often feels more personal, more devastating, because they invest so deeply in the emotional bond before anything else. When a man cheats physically, it might be impulsive. When a woman cheats emotionally, it's deliberate in the sense that she chooses to nurture that connection over time. That nurturing creates a deep sense of intimacy that can make the eventual physical betrayal feel secondary. By the time the physical line is crossed, the emotional bond has already solidified, making the betrayal harder to undo. What makes it even more complex is that emotional cheating is easier to hide. There are no lipstick stains, no hotel receipts, no sudden absences. Instead, there's silence. There's emotional withdrawal. There's the smile she tries to hide when a certain name pops up on her phone. There's the way she's suddenly distracted, laughing at something you weren't a part of. And because society often downplays emotional cheating, labeling it as just talking or just a friendship, it's easier for her to deny it, to defend it, and to continue it without feeling the weight of guilt. Women who engage in emotional cheating often don't realize how far they've drifted until they're deeply entangled. By then, their partner has become the outsider, the stranger in their own relationship, while another man becomes the confidant, the safe place, the emotional home. And once a woman's heart moves homes, her body will eventually follow, because intimacy craves wholeness, and she will seek that wholeness where she feels most alive. Women cheat differently. They plan, they hide, they protect the secret better than men. Where men are often impulsive, reckless, and sloppy with their betrayals, women approach it with a kind of calculated caution that makes it harder to detect. They know the patterns that arouse suspicion, they understand emotional cues, and they're skilled at masking changes in behavior so seamlessly that their partner might sense something is off, but can never quite point to the evidence. This isn't about glorifying deception. It's about acknowledging that when women step into betrayal, they do it with layers of preparation that make it far less visible on the surface. A woman rarely cheats without thinking ahead. She considers the risks, the timing, the story she will tell if confronted. She knows what to delete, what to hide, and when to act as if nothing happened. She understands that the most effective way to keep a secret is to appear completely normal. While a man might become distant or act guilty in obvious ways, a woman can smile, hold a conversation, and keep the house running as if her loyalty is still intact. This ability to compartmentalize, to separate the affair from her daily life, is one of the reasons women can carry on cheating for months, even years, without being discovered. Planning is part of the process. She chooses her moments carefully. She won't risk meeting someone in a place where she might be recognized. She won't keep messages that could be found. She will take precautions with technology, private apps, hidden folders, deleted call logs. She won't suddenly start disappearing without an explanation. Instead, she will weave her meetings into believable stories. Work commitments, family visits, errands that take just the right amount of time. To the outside world, everything will appear ordinary, and that's exactly how she wants it. Women are also more likely to protect the emotional stability of their home while cheating. She doesn't necessarily want to destroy her primary relationship immediately. Instead, she may want the affair to exist as a secret world parallel to her normal life. She can be attentive to her partner, affectionate with her children, involved in family events, all while nurturing a hidden connection elsewhere. This dual life requires mental discipline, and women often excel at it because they've been conditioned to juggle multiple roles and emotions without letting one spill into the other. Another layer to this is how women manage suspicion. They are quick to notice when their partner starts asking more questions or becomes more observant. When that happens, they shift behavior just enough to erase doubts. She might suddenly show more affection, engage in deeper conversations, or take an interest in things she had been ignoring. This doesn't necessarily come from guilt. It comes from strategy. She knows that the best way to keep a secret is to convince the other person there is nothing to find. Women also tend to involve fewer people in their secrets. While men might brag or confide in friends, increasing the chances of being exposed, women often tell no one or confide only in a person they trust completely, someone who has as much to lose as they do. This selective sharing reduces the risk of rumors or accidental slips. Even the affair partner is often warned to keep their connection completely private, with clear boundaries about communication and exposure. Protecting the secret is not just about avoiding discovery, it's about maintaining control. A woman who cheats knows that the moment her partner finds out, the dynamic changes. She might lose her relationship, her stability, her reputation. So she works hard to ensure that no evidence surfaces, no behavioral slip gives her away. Every detail is managed, from the way she speaks to the way she schedules her days, so that the truth remains hidden beneath a layer of normalcy. This isn't carelessness, it's precision. And perhaps the most unsettling part is that many women who cheat in this way can still look their partner in the eye, share a meal, laugh together, and play the role of the loyal partner convincingly. They can balance both worlds because they keep them entirely separate. One world feeds their sense of stability, the other feeds their desire for excitement, connection, or validation. And as long as both worlds remain intact, they will go to great lengths to protect them both. The emotional void is the root. Women often cheat to fill what they no longer receive emotionally from their partner. It rarely starts with the desire for physical intimacy. It starts with the slow, silent erosion of emotional connection. At first, she doesn't even realize it's happening. The little conversations that once made her feel alive are replaced by small talk about bills and responsibilities. The affectionate touches become less frequent, replaced by the weight of routine. She starts to feel invisible in her own home, as if her presence is taken for granted. And the truth is, it's not always about wanting someone new. It's about missing the feeling of being wanted, valued, and truly seen. When the heart starts starving, it will look for food anywhere it can find it. Women are naturally wired to seek emotional closeness. It's how they bond, how they feel safe, how they connect deeply. So when their emotional needs go unmet, it leaves a hollow space that feels unbearable over time. She may try to communicate it at first, dropping hints, expressing her needs, asking for attention. But when those pleas are met with indifference, excuses, or temporary fixes, she learns to stop asking. She stops expecting. And in that silence, she becomes vulnerable to the smallest gestures from someone else, a genuine compliment, an attentive ear, a consistent effort to understand her thoughts. It's not that she planned to cheat, it's that the emotional void became an open door for someone else to walk through. This is where the danger begins, because when a woman finds emotional comfort in someone outside her relationship, it feels like breathing after being underwater for too long. She feels alive again, like she matters, like her voice is heard. This rush of validation becomes addictive, and before she knows it, she's sharing more of herself with this person than with her partner. The conversations become longer, the topics more personal, and the trust deeper. It's no longer just a friend or a harmless connection. It's someone who fills the very gap that has been eating away at her inside. The physical side of cheating, if it happens, is often a byproduct of this emotional bond. By the time a woman crosses that physical line, her heart has already crossed it long before. The new person isn't just a lover. He's the one who saw her when she felt invisible, the one who made her feel valued when she felt discarded. That emotional bond makes the betrayal even harder to untangle because it's not based solely on attraction, it's rooted in emotional dependency. Partners often fail to see this coming because they assume cheating is about lust. They look for physical signs, lipstick stains, late nights, suspicious phone calls. But they miss the more dangerous signs. The way she no longer shares her day with them, the way her laughter is more frequent with someone else, the way she lights up at her phone but stays distant in person. These are the signs of an emotional shift, and once that shift happens, it's hard to reverse. Women who cheat to fill an emotional void rarely describe it as cheating at first. In their minds, they're simply finding the companionship, attention, and understanding they've been missing. They tell themselves it's harmless because it's just talking, but deep down, they know they've already given something away that belonged to their partner, their emotional loyalty. This kind of betrayal cuts deeper because it isn't about a moment of weakness. It's about months or years of building a new emotional home somewhere else. The most unsettling part is that this emotional void can exist in relationships that seem perfectly fine from the outside. There may be no major fights, no obvious distance, no glaring issues, but beneath the surface, there's a growing emptiness. And if that emptiness isn't addressed, it will push her toward any source of light she can find. Emotional needs are as real as physical ones, and when they're neglected, the consequences often unfold in silence before they explode in reality. Women are better at rewriting the story. They convince themselves it's just friendship until it's not. It begins with harmless conversations, shared laughs, and the comfort of someone who listens without judgment. She tells herself there's nothing wrong with it because there's no physical contact, no secret rendezvous in hotel rooms, nothing that crosses the hard lines society defines as cheating. In her mind, it's safe, innocent, even justified. But what she doesn't realize, or maybe doesn't want to admit, is that every deep conversation, every personal confession, every emotional exchange is slowly blurring the lines between friendship and something far more intimate. Emotional attachment is like a slow-burning fuse, and when it finally reaches the end, the explosion changes everything. Rewriting the story is a defense mechanism. It allows her to continue down a path she knows would be unacceptable if she admitted its true nature. She starts to use softer words to describe what's happening. He's just a good friend. We understand each other. It's not like that. These phrases become the cover she hides behind, the verbal shield that protects her from having to confront the truth too soon. And because women are often more skilled at emotional self-awareness, they're also more skilled at manipulating that awareness, bending it to fit the narrative they want to believe. She isn't lying outright, at least not to herself. She's simply editing the truth to make it more comfortable. Over time, the connection grows stronger and the excuses grow weaker. She starts sharing things with him she no longer shares with her partner, her fears, her dreams, her frustrations. She starts thinking about him at random moments of the day, feeling a small rush of excitement when his name appears on her phone. In her mind, she still calls it friendship because there's been no physical line crossed. But in reality, she's already stepped into emotional territory that belongs only to her partner. This is where the rewriting of the story becomes dangerous, because the more she invests in this friendship, the more she starts to withdraw from her relationship without even realizing it. When the feelings become undeniable, the narrative shifts again. Now, it's no longer about justifying the connection as harmless. It's about rationalizing why it's acceptable. She might tell herself her partner doesn't care enough, doesn't listen enough, doesn't understand her like he does. She starts to frame the friendship as something she deserves because her needs aren't being met. This mental reframing is powerful because it removes guilt and replaces it with entitlement. She no longer feels she's betraying her partner. She feels she's simply finding what she's missing, and that makes it easier to keep going. By the time the friendship crosses into physical intimacy, the story has been rewritten so many times that it barely resembles the truth. She tells herself it just happened, that it wasn't planned, that it's complicated. But the reality is, the emotional cheating laid the groundwork long before that moment. The physical part was simply the natural next step of a bond she had been nurturing under the label of friendship. And because she's been telling herself for so long that it was innocent, she can now tell herself that the physical step doesn't define the entire relationship, that it's still somehow different from the kind of betrayal she would judge in others. The skill in rewriting the story lies in how convincingly she can sell it, not just to herself, but to everyone around her. She can talk about this person openly, introduce him as a friend, mention him casually in conversation, all while keeping the true depth of their connection hidden. This openness disarms suspicion, because who would openly talk about someone they're secretly involved with? That's the brilliance of the rewritten story. It hides in plain sight. And as long as she believes her own version of events, it becomes nearly impossible for anyone else to question it without looking paranoid or controlling. Eventually, the truth is no longer about what happened or didn't happen. It's about the story she's chosen to believe. And when that story is more comforting than reality, she will hold on to it with both hands, even if it means living a double life. The lines between friendship and love blur until they're no longer lines at all. And by then, the damage to the relationship has already been done. Society excuses female betrayal. It's wrapped in sympathy and understanding, making it harder to spot. When a man cheats, he's immediately branded as unfaithful, selfish, even predatory. The judgment is swift, the labels are heavy, and the moral verdict is rarely questioned. But when a woman cheats, the narrative often shifts. People start asking what drove her to it, what she must have been going through, what pain she must have endured to take that step. Instead of the act being the focus, the circumstances become the excuse. Her betrayal is softened by layers of compassion, as though her actions are somehow less harmful because they came from an emotional need rather than lust or impulse. This societal bias makes it easier for female betrayal to go unnoticed, unchallenged, and sometimes even justified. The root of this double standard lies in how men and women's emotional needs are perceived. A man cheating is framed as a lapse in control. A woman cheating is often framed as the result of emotional neglect. People are quick to sympathize with the idea of a woman feeling unloved, unappreciated, or taken for granted. They imagine her silently enduring loneliness until someone finally came along and made her feel alive again. And while loneliness can indeed be devastating, it doesn't erase the fact that betrayal is still betrayal. Yet society often treats her choice as a reaction rather than a decision, as though she was swept into it against her will. This perception shields her from the level of accountability that would be placed on a man in the same situation. Because of this narrative, women who cheat are often able to continue their affairs under the guise of being emotionally misunderstood. Friends may defend them, saying things like, "She's been through so much," or "He wasn't treating her right." These phrases not only excuse the behavior, but also subtly shift the blame onto the partner who was cheated on. Instead of being seen as the victim, he becomes part of the reason it happened. This reframing of responsibility creates a protective shield around her actions, making them less visible and more socially acceptable. This societal leniency also gives women more room to maneuver when it comes to hiding their betrayal. Knowing that people will be inclined to understand her side, she can lean into the narrative of struggle and emotional need. She might openly confide in certain friends about her unhappiness, knowing that if her affair ever comes to light, they will see it as the natural result of her circumstances rather than a breach of trust. The groundwork for sympathy is often laid long before the truth is revealed, and by the time it is, the story is already in her favor. The way media and popular culture portray female infidelity also plays a role. Movies, books, and shows often depict women cheating as an act of liberation, self-discovery, or reclaiming power. The man in the story is often portrayed as inattentive, controlling, or unworthy, while the new lover is painted as the one who truly understands her. This narrative conditions audiences to root for her happiness, even when it comes at the expense of loyalty. It subtly teaches that a woman's emotional fulfillment can justify breaking her vows, which further cements the idea that her betrayal is somehow different, softer, more forgivable than a man's. The sympathy surrounding female betrayal also affects the confrontation stage. When a man is caught cheating, there's outrage, anger, and often public shaming. But when a woman is caught, there are more questions than accusations. What made you do it? Were you unhappy? Do you still love him? This shift in tone sends a clear message. Her actions need to be understood, not condemned. This empathy can be comforting in moments of vulnerability, but it can also enable patterns of betrayal by removing the urgency to take full accountability. In some cases, this societal bias even discourages men from speaking out when they've been cheated on. A man revealing that his partner betrayed him may face disbelief or even mockery. Some will imply that he must have failed as a partner, that he must not have been enough for her. This stigma silences victims of female betrayal, allowing it to remain in the shadows far more often than male betrayal. The lack of visible consequences creates an environment where a woman can continue her secret with less fear of being caught or judged harshly. And because society often places women on a moral pedestal, believing them to be more naturally loyal and nurturing, the idea of them cheating is met with shock, but also with more effort to explain it away. People want to believe there was a reason, that she was driven to it, that it wasn't simply a choice made in selfishness. This desire to preserve the image of women as inherently good and faithful ends up protecting those who aren't, making their betrayal not only harder to see, but harder to accept, even when it's right in front of us. Technology has made emotional cheating invisible. Private DMs, secret accounts, and disappearing messages have become weapons. What used to require sneaking out, meeting in person, or risking physical evidence has now moved entirely into the digital space, where an entire relationship can exist without leaving a single tangible trace. With just a few taps, conversations can vanish, accounts can be hidden, and entire worlds can be built in private, far from the eyes of a partner. The phone has become both the stage and the shield, allowing connections to grow while maintaining the illusion of innocence. A simple lock screen, a private browser window, or a hidden folder is now all it takes to keep an affair alive and undetected. The danger of technology-driven emotional cheating is that it doesn't require physical proximity. A woman can be sitting next to her partner on the couch, smiling at the same television show, while engaging in an intimate conversation with someone else in real time. The person she's connecting with could be across the street or across the world. It doesn't matter. Emotional intimacy no longer depends on location, and that makes it both more accessible and more addictive. Each message, each reaction, each private exchange becomes a tiny burst of validation, reinforcing the bond without the logistical risks that come with physical cheating. Private DMs are the first layer of this invisible betrayal. Social media platforms are designed to encourage one-on-one interaction, and it's easy to slide into a conversation that feels casual at first, but slowly turns personal. Compliments, inside jokes, shared frustrations, they all stack up until the chat becomes the highlight of her day. What makes this dangerous is how easy it is to justify. It's just talking becomes the mantra, the shield that hides the truth of how emotionally invested she's becoming. The more private the platform, the more freedom there is to say things she wouldn't dare say out loud in her partner's presence. Secret accounts are another weapon. These accounts can be created under different names, with no followers who would alert her partner, no mutual connections to raise suspicion. They become safe zones where she can post, interact, and communicate without any overlap with her public life. These accounts might follow and be followed only by the person she's involved with, creating a private universe where their connection can exist without interference. The secrecy itself adds a thrill, turning the hidden relationship into something that feels even more special and protected. Then there are disappearing messages, one of the most powerful tools for invisible cheating. Apps that automatically erase conversations after they've been read make it nearly impossible for a partner to stumble upon evidence. Photos, videos, and intimate words can be exchanged without leaving behind a single screenshot or text thread. This constant vanishing of proof gives a false sense of safety, encouraging deeper sharing and riskier behavior. It creates a cycle where the lack of evidence becomes permission to continue. Technology also allows for layered communication, multiple platforms, each serving a different purpose. A public social media account might show no signs of infidelity, while private messaging apps carry the real story. Gaming chats, workplace communication tools, or even shared document platforms can become unexpected channels for intimacy. Because these platforms are associated with harmless activities, they rarely trigger suspicion, making them perfect hiding places for emotional affairs. The most unsettling part is how seamlessly this digital cheating can blend into everyday life. A quick reply to a message looks no different from responding to a friend, a coworker, or a family member. There's no need to sneak away to take a call or leave the house for a meeting. The affair lives in the same device that also holds family photos, grocery lists, and work emails. This blending of the ordinary and the forbidden makes it nearly impossible for an outsider to distinguish between innocent communication and emotional betrayal. And because technology has normalized constant communication, a woman engaging in emotional cheating can maintain the connection almost around the clock. Morning greetings, lunchtime check-ins, late-night confessions, all of it can happen without physically leaving her partner's side. The emotional intimacy becomes woven into her daily routine until the person on the other side of the screen feels just as present, if not more so, than the partner in the same room. This is why technology-driven emotional cheating is so dangerous. It doesn't just hide the betrayal, it makes it effortless, constant, and nearly impossible to detect. Loyalty is a choice, not a gender trait. The problem is not men or women, it's who you choose to be when temptation comes. We live in a culture obsessed with statistics, constantly arguing over who cheats more, who lies more, who breaks trust more. But the truth is, betrayal has never been a matter of gender. It's a matter of integrity. Loyalty is not written in our DNA, it's written in our decisions. Every person, no matter their gender, will face moments when they are tempted, moments when someone makes them feel seen, desired, and understood in ways their partner hasn't recently. In that moment, loyalty is not about how good or bad the relationship is. It's about the decision to honor or betray the commitment you made. Temptation doesn't come knocking with a warning. It slips in quietly, often disguised as friendship, professional admiration, or harmless flirting. It can arrive when you're unhappy, but it can also arrive when your relationship is going well. That's why loyalty is not about circumstance. It's about personal boundaries. The people who remain faithful are not necessarily those who were never tempted. They are those who recognized the temptation and chose to turn away. They didn't entertain it, they didn't test it, and they didn't see how far they could go before crossing the line. They understood that loyalty isn't something you have until it's gone. It's something you practice every single day. Many hide behind excuses when they betray, claiming they weren't happy, they weren't getting what they needed, they felt neglected. And while those feelings may be real, they do not justify infidelity. Choosing loyalty means choosing to address those problems within the relationship instead of seeking comfort elsewhere. It means being brave enough to have the uncomfortable conversations, to admit when you feel disconnected, to demand better from each other rather than silently drifting towards someone new. A loyal person doesn't stay faithful because everything is perfect. They stay faithful because they respect their own values enough not to compromise them. The myth that one gender is more loyal than the other has created a dangerous sense of false security. Some men believe women are naturally faithful, so they don't guard against the possibility of female betrayal. Some women believe men are naturally unfaithful, so they watch with suspicion while overlooking their own boundaries. Both mindsets are flawed because they treat loyalty like an inherent trait instead of a deliberate act. The truth is, both men and women are capable of betrayal, and both are capable of remarkable faithfulness. The difference is not biology, it's the choices made in moments of vulnerability. Temptation often feels like an escape, a way out of loneliness, boredom, or frustration. In those moments, it's easy to convince yourself that acting on it is harmless or even justified. But every decision to entertain temptation chips away at the trust in your relationship, even if the other person never finds out. Loyalty isn't just about avoiding physical betrayal. It's about protecting your emotional energy from being invested where it doesn't belong. It's about keeping the deepest parts of yourself, your heart, your attention, your intimacy, anchored in the relationship you've committed to. Choosing loyalty also means resisting the thrill of secrecy. There's a rush that comes with hidden attention, with knowing something your partner doesn't, with creating a private world that belongs only to you and someone else. But that thrill is fleeting, and it's paid for with long-term damage. People often underestimate how much of loyalty is about self-control, not because the temptation isn't strong, but because the consequences are far heavier than the momentary satisfaction. Those who stay faithful are not immune to curiosity or attraction. They simply value the relationship more than the rush. In the end, loyalty strips away the excuses and forces you to face yourself. It's not about what your partner did or didn't do. It's about what kind of person you want to be. Temptation will always exist, but so will the choice to say no. You don't have to be perfect to be loyal. You just have to be consistent in choosing your relationship over the impulse to escape it. Because loyalty, in its purest form, is not about avoiding opportunities to betray. It's about refusing to take them, no matter how tempting they might be.